Of course, we continue our conversation about the impacts of the falling oil prices, particularly on the domestic commodities markets. And we have one of the research analysts at the financial derivatives company, Temitope Olubile, who is here with us in the studio to talk more about this. Good morning, Temitope. It's good to have you around.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's begin with you taking us through the burning economic issues and what they mean for the domestic commodities market.
Okay, so basically the top burning economic issue is just the coronavirus and the impact it's having across board and different responses. So we see that in the domestic front, we've seen the federal government set up a committee, a special committee to, review the impact of COVID-19 on the oil, on our budget, 2020 budget, because when you look at the budget, the size is about 10.59 trillion naira, and it was premised on the oil benchmark of $57 per barrel, and we're way below that now. We also see that, the oil market responded to the oil price war that was set off or commenced over the weekend. We saw that there was that plunge, but we're seeing a mild recovery now in the oil market and also in the financial markets. And over here in Nigeria, we also saw that the NSC, suffered an unprecedented loss. And we have that the external reserves are still sliding and are expected to slide further. We're now at $36.22 billion. And, those are our burning issues for now. It's just the responses of the global financial and commodities markets to these uncertainties.
And of course, with the oil prices plunging now, of course, external reserves are falling. Is Naira devaluation the possible way forward?
So I would say that where we are now with oil at $36 per barrel, we have that, if that continues, because our buffers are really low, let's be honest, we have depleting external reserves, depleting excess crude accounts, we have those low buffers. I think that if oil continues its slide, we might start to see, some rationing of what we have. We might see increased forex restrictions. Those are the possibilities in the foreign exchange market for now. We might also see some involuntary adjustments. It's a possibility that could happen.
And now, with the federal government preparing to review its budget now, what oil benchmark would you suggest with the current prices that we have now?
Okay, so if we look at the current prices and we also take the different adjustments we're seeing from global bodies, we're seeing the EIU projecting about $49 per barrel. We're seeing Goldman Sachs also revising downwards its oil benchmark. I would say right now, sensible or a plausible rather benchmark can be somewhere between $45 to $50 per barrel. I think that would better reflect the current market fundamentals, yes.
All right, let's look at the domestic commodities price movement now. And the price of flour marginally up. Can you tell us what's driving that price?
Okay, so yes, we have that our domestic commodity prices, we're seeing some mixed movement. We're seeing the price of flour up. We're also seeing Semovita, falling. And we're seeing these things. I think, we also had the border closure. Domestic-wise, we have some issues we have left unresolved that are still up in the air. There's the border closure impact on, supply and what is having on supply shortages. We also, for Semovita now, if you take an example for Semovita, we'll see that, it could be linked to the fall in the price, the domestic price of Semovita could be linked to the fall in the global price of one of the key ingredients for Semovita, which is wheat. We're also seeing that global-wise, we're seeing that decline in price of wheat because of these uncertainties again. So that, I think, for our domestic commodities, we have the border closure and also the movement in global commodities and how it affects our domestic commodities.
But putting all of this together now, what would you say is your outlook on the oil market and agri-commodities?
Okay, so for the oil market, I think it's very tricky. It remains tricky because, yes, we're seeing that mild recovery, but the price war is still on the minds of everybody. Bear in mind that the current OPEC cuts, that is due to expire by the end of March. And so if OPEC doesn't come together, even if it's OPEC plus or just OPEC, this cartel must come together before that. If not, we will see all countries can produce without constraints. There's all of that. And there's also if that happens, Saudi Arabia has the capacity to, increase and flood the markets. And we also have the coronavirus slowdown in demand and everything. So I think for now, oil markets remains very uncertain. I think we will still be below $40 per barrel in the near term, and I think that it might come to the point where OPEC will need to sit down and really evaluate its strategy going forward. Yes.
We'll wait to see what happens in the coming days. Many thanks to Temitope Olugbile, research analyst at the financial derivatives company.